Legacy of Wisdom is a non-profit project building a vision of best practices for living and fulfilling life's potential. There appear to be new and creative aging lifestyles. In terms of something different, what kinds of qualities would you say we should be thinking about?
There are so many extraordinary options for elders in our culture today. It's not only the option of finding oneself in a so-called old age community. And, that can be good, by the way. When I have visited nursing homes and also, so-called old age communities, whatever we want to sort of call them as, assisted living centers and so on, for people who don't have extended community, these are, not bad options. But I think, and I think also as an anthropologist, if I put on that hat, the small nuclear family has been a tremendous challenge to elders in our culture. In other cultures where people live in villages for many generations, where the extended family is multi-generational, there's not so much fear about the aging process. Just yesterday, an older woman who came here was experiencing some dizziness, and she said to me, "I'm so afraid, I live in Albuquerque. How am I going to get back there, and who's going to take care of me?" And that is a fear that needs to be addressed in our culture because we are living longer. And we do need a more complex system to make sure that the so-called golden years are truly golden and not lead. So there are models, intergenerational models. There are co-housing contexts that make it possible for people to live in, sort of almost like a single building, and have the sort of Western privacy that people enjoy, but where the sense of neighborhood is more immediate. There are spiritual and religious communities that are intergenerational and multi-generational that I think provide an extraordinary opportunity. But most spiritual communities don't have the fiscal resources to actually provide support for wise old people, once they lose physical or mental capacity. And that's something that I think needs to be addressed. As the oldest person in this community right now, but I shortly won't be because our first so-called elder is moving here part-time. For us to mutually test what it means to have a person who can't, contribute to the physical labor of sustaining a monastic environment, but who can contribute at the level of wisdom. And we have to make a place for people like that. We need the voice of experience. And we also need, it's like an old gem that has been passed from hand to hand, the kind of richness of perspective that older people bring. But in the West, there are simply, this is a very limited option. And here we have, for example, we don't have the resources of the housing to have that many people live here. So we're saying maybe, can we buy some houses in the neighborhood, for example? In Christian communities, what we're seeing is the absence for elders, the absence of the intergenerational dimension, where monastics are suddenly siloed in almost like, Christian nursing homes. And that's not, I feel, a good model for us. And I know some of these monastics, they're friends of mine. They're not happy. That's not good. What do we do with the grandmother? And what does it mean in our culture to be a wise person? How do we foster the conditions to actually allow the life to unfold in a sufficient number of years where the elders can be taken care of on one hand, but accessible as repositories of wisdom. So I think, the work Malka is doing, Zalman Schachter, what we're experimenting with here at UPI in a very modest way, is really important. I don't see viable models on the landscape, but there is a deep call for this to happen. It must happen because, as we are so clear, we're all living a lot longer than we thought we would. And also the quality of our physical presence and of our mental capacities for many of us is pretty spectacular. I mean, we have, I thought the ball game was over when I was 60. And, September, I'm leaving for the Himalayas and walking across the Himalayas one more time. Maybe the last time, but maybe not, as I head in to my 70s. So, there's just a kind of wonderment. And by the way, on that trip, it's mostly young people going, which is really fun for me. It's very intergenerational in that regard. But it provides it's a kind of laboratory of how do we, create the conditions in this very extreme situation where the several of us who are older can, if you will, be neck and neck, not on the physical level with the younger people who are doing this nomads clinic in this remote part of the Himalayas, but where our capacity for equanimity and joy can influence the sort of ambition of the young clinicians.